Okay, we are live. Greetings, everybody. I am Sleepy Reader, aka Damien, back from a long hiatus with two of my favorite comic book people and a third favorite comic book person. Yeah, that's right. Over here is LahRasa,
Hello.
super famous YouTuber, and
Oh yeah.
down below,
There's
just
just
as famous, Terrence ComicKkrakk and his soon-to-be super famous daughter Lillian, who
whoa.
who gets to have two different Halloween celebrations.
Yeah, it's true.
And she is our guest star. Is going to do a book review or a share a book with us in a little bit. And I just wanted to point out that the comic community is doing a fundraiser for the American Cancer Association. So I included a link down below. I think it's going on for a while. But so there's a link to a link tree with a bunch of information there.
Is that a year thing that happens, or?
Sorry?
Is that an annual thing that happens?
I think it started last year. And so whoever did it last year, and I missed it because the comic community is so big now. Whoever did it last year raised so much money that he got the attention of the American Cancer Association. So now they're promoting it together, and they have a direct link to donate to the American Cancer Association. So you don't have to donate to his channel or anything.
Right. So then you know it's getting right to the source. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's no fees being taken off by anybody or anything like that.
Oh, wow. Very good.
And so, I mean, obviously you guys are in different countries. Maybe you have your own cancer charities you want to give to instead. But for those who want to give to the American Cancer Association, this is a great way to do it through the comic book community.
Very cool.
We have Namen, Sleepy, a comic book worm, and we have Celia not from Norway, off in Belgium, or last I knew, perhaps still in some other part of Europe. I think she was traveling around. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is the show where we just get together as often as we can weekly on Sundays and chat about what we've been reading lately. No particular rules or type of book or anything like that. Whatever we're up to, we can talk about.
It's true.
So, shall we just dive into Lillian sharing with us?
Yeah,
I'm going to make you guys full screen.
Okay.
Me and Dad actually read this book of Witch Boy.
Okay. Let's show who the author is. Let's get it up nice and close. This is the author here, Molly Knox Ostertag, so a Scholastic book.
So she did the writing and the drawing.
I believe so, yeah, everything.
So like stuff like this.
Oh wow, that looks great.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good. So what was it about, Lil? What was the idea behind it?
So for boys they would be shapeshifters, and girls it's witches. So like they would be separated into two people and like different like powers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so two groups. When you come of age, you either learn how to be a witch or you learn how to be a shapeshifter if you're boys. And the main character wants to
be a witch, but he can't because he's a boy.
His whole family is telling him he can't be a witch, so he keeps kind of eavesdropping onto the witches and learning little spells and things, right? And yeah, kind of getting in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
cool.
we were actually at the library. We
haven't read this one yet, though.
Oh, I see.
The Midwinter Witch. Is that a sequel?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's what was there? Was there 4 books, Lil? I think there's 4 books total. There's another one on the back here, The Hidden Witch. But I'm pretty sure we saw a 4th one as well, too.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to say anything else about it? Yeah.
I have one more book.
Oh, you want to show this one too? Okay.
Okay, now I have one other book that isn't related to those. I read this yesterday.
Cody.
That looks cool. Is that a bear with a kid?
Yeah. I love the art with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Looks great.
Painted.
Yeah.
It's a top shelf book, it says on the back.
Oh, I like top shelves.
And what was this one about, Lo? I didn't read this one with her. I don't know this one.
This one's about a little girl.
I'll show some pictures while you're talking.
This one's about a little girl.
Oh wow,
who,
looks cute.
I think with her grandma. It didn't really be that specific of who it was. Like, I think it was her grandma or whoever was taking care of her. And she made friends with a bear. And
like a real bear or like a magic bear or something, or just a real bear?
Just a real bear.
Okay.
And
there she is there. Yeah.
Yeah, and because he got a cut, so like they helped him, took care of him, and one day she had to leave because her aunt was in the hospital for a year, and showed a picture of where she was going, and left the picture with him, and like
left a picture with the bear, really?
With the bear, yeah. And months later, he gets on a boat to that place.
Comes to hunt her down.
So he meets this boy who you can see right there. That boy.
Yeah.
It's like we planned this, Lil.
Like, he had this picture of the girl and him, and he showed it to the boy, and then they tracked her down. But then the bear just went to find her by himself. Just when the girl came to the boy.
Wow.
So he eventually finds them.
Yeah.
Or finds her, rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finds
It's
her,
beautiful.
but then they have to search for the bear.
Oh wow.
The bear on the boat. It's
That
beautiful
is just
water.
incredible artwork.
It really
Yeah.
is. So it's
Cody.
Jared Cullum, a name that I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like doing everything. Not seeing proper credits, but yeah, that's the only name I'm seeing, Jared Cullum. So yeah, top shelf. It's beautiful, beautiful watercolor pictures here. I really love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. We'll have to read this again together, Lil. I kind of want to check it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And is there any more in this series? Do you know, or was this Was this a standalone?
I think as I saw, it was a standalone.
Yeah, it looks like it's its own thing there.
Because what happens is they just live there now. They don't go back to where they used to live. They just stay there.
I see. So she moved basically, and he came and found her. Nice.
But like she said, she was gonna stay there for a year. But maybe maybe the only reason they were gonna stay for a year is because the bear was there or something. Right. But because the bear is there, I think they're just staying.
She decides to move there. Yeah. And there she's getting on a bus. Very cool though. Wow, that's a really nice looking one. That's
I'm already wondering if there's a hardcover of that. I like.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, Lillian Celia, who's a elementary school teacher, is thanking you for these recommendations. She says they'll be perfect for her students.
Yeah, that'll be excellent.
So you're spreading your knowledge across the world through this.
Across the globe. Wow.
All
Celia's
around the world. Teaching right now in Belgium.
Nice.
And Scott, let me get you.
Hello, Scott.
Scott Connor is here, the mighty Scott Connor, the king of puns, the gray man, the mighty gray man. He's also very mighty. And Longbox Diver, thank you for joining us.
That artist has done the Storyteller by Jim Henson's as well, apparently.
Okay, yeah.
So you were enjoying those reads as well. So I just looked up his name, and that book popped out right away. So
what series was he doing?
Give me a second. What is this called?
I wonder if it was the newer ones.
The Giants. Or Giants?
The Giants. Okay, Giants are ones I don't have. I don't have those issues.
Yeah.
I'll have to check them out.
Just to show you, but let me see if I. Yeah, that's the picture. I mean, I can't really. If it's you can.
Oh.
No, don't worry. It's my stupid phone. It's not you. There you go. So something like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
If you can. There.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, we'll have to check out. We'll have to look for that. We should actually look for Storyteller at the library now that I'm thinking.
Yeah. So he's doing that. It says his name on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right
on. That was really fantastic, Lillian. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, very good books.
Your dad gets extra points for having you on his team.
Yeah. Oh, we're going points based. Excellent. Right
Yeah,
on.
over
Thanks,
off
Frank.
camera, there's 3 judges holding up numbers.
Yeah.
The secret brigade. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have something you want to share with us, LahRasa?
La, 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 la. You guys read this because I really want to talk about it.
Yes, yes, I have read the entire series now.
Yeah, I finished it as well too.
So what's because for me, at first when I read it, I was like, not really. But then like when you read comics, sometimes you just glance through it and quickly, like you do the quick motions, you read through, and all the stuff. But afterwards, I was like, okay, let me go back and slowly read again. And I actually kind of like, so the whole spin of why this family and his mom and him was after all this, like the douchebag who looks like who. Let's not mention his name. Because of a spoiler alert. Can I now? I'm gonna spoil.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Yeah. Anyone watching who doesn't want to be spoiled, turn off the sound for a little bit.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! So he is his father. Did you guys get that?
I missed that. No.
Well, here you go.
That too.
You see,
that's the whole right.
Yeah,
Holy
because
God.
that when this gruesome scene when this guy is absolutely petrified because this guy comes in, he's like, he does.
Yeah, and he shits and pisses his pants. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have all this conversation, and I was like, okay, so what's the whole point?
It was right there in front of me. Now that you say it.
And then he says, "Well, so what?" Because he said, "What do you want from me? What do you want?" Guess. And then what do you want from me? Like everything. And please, 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 I want my mom back. He says in here, and here, and then afterwards, so I'll settle for just killing my father.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I
read
that and it didn't sink in.
It didn't sink in at all for me. I needed to read again the same issue because I was like, this is so significant at the end of the day. He points it out lots of things. We have his family, we have all this dark web, and we kind of get confused on that sense because we could get in the background from the characters. But this is basically the whole shebang, and that's why he was going after, because they are merely 2 people, and we never knew why they're going after him, and now we do know, and why the whole series was going this way. So,
wow, I feel really stupid for missing that.
When I read it, I realized I needed to reread the entire series.
Yeah, me as well.
So I didn't do a second dive into this issue because I was planning to reread the whole thing. But now that you have cleared it up for me, I realize I'm even more need to reread the whole series. To kind of reinterpret it.
It makes
as the series went along, I started to realize each issue took like a slightly different story type, and that's why it kept feeling like it was moving to different times and stuff. So there was a lot of subtle experimentation that Remender and Araujo were doing here.
So that's why I was like thinking at first, I was like, because it didn't click for me. Because I read that bubble, glanced through it, and went through it, like, but just missing something. So I went in again and just give it a bit more thought. And sometimes that's what happens when you just those in monthly series, like the comic book. Sometimes you just lose that. But if you read in a whole chunk, everything, it just travels in your head. You're already clicking all the panels and everything going. But then it makes more sense, and I am much more like happier after reading the whole series now, because before when I finished I was really disappointed. I was like, shit, now Rick Remender, because we were talking about all these endings he's doing, and I have this anticipations because I do enjoy his writing, and it does make it really exciting, especially the artist he picks it up. But this, okay, now it's like, oh, thank God. So I was like, makes sense. Now it's in my head. So that's why I wanted to share with you guys to see if you actually it hit for you.
I think that's also a thing with that book specifically. It flowed so nicely that there was this kind of faster pace, or at least for me reading it anyway, there wasn't like I wasn't reading it fast, but I wasn't really, obviously I wasn't digesting anything in that last issue. If I completely missed that, that's mental. That changes the whole thoughts about the book,
It makes absolute whole lot of sense about how it started and why it started like that. Because, at the end of the day, you have, our main character who is basically a spoiler once again, the one who we followed from the beginning is this guy.
Right.
Unfortunately, he perished as well as his mom. But it just was interesting to see how this is going to be panning out. It's like, okay, this is a big payout, and it was actually quite. Like when person gets to see his own demise, and he knew the ending anyway. You shut yourself. You're absolutely scared. No matter how much money he had in the world, nobody could save him anyway. Thankfully, right. I mean, got the justice on that sense of it.
I think I was really focused on the design of that character, because so clearly, I mean, well, what do I know? I didn't write it, but so clearly, it seems to be that he's supposed to be that guy. You know what I mean? It's way too close. It's way too close not to be, right? So I think I was reading it with different subtext in my head and not kind of like the parental angle, like, wow, you kind of blew our mind there, Rasa.
And I was by that final issue, I was butting up against all of my assumptions, because I assumed we were talking about like an international cabal of evil businessmen. And then suddenly it looked into politics, and I was very distracted by that.
So one speech bubble made a whole difference. It's like I was like, after second read, it's like like the light bulbs like switch on in my brain. It's like, yes, of course. And then I was like thinking on the panels, the run around, they being caught up, they put in the black market, of course, because he wants to, he wants to get away. For sure, he wouldn't want to have a son with a African American lady or whatever they are. I think they wouldn't specify. It doesn't matter. But for what the character we had as a bad guy, you kind of knew he wouldn't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. So,
you've changed my whole view of that book.
Cool. I saved Rick Remender's book in your book.
You just say Rick Remender owes you.
Sometimes you miss the beat and stuff like that. Like you never know. So
Scott. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go. No,
because it's just one of Scott's jokes, so I don't want to. If you had a thought you want to give us, I'll go to the joke. Back to the joke later. Well, Scott made a joke, but he made a mistake, because Rick Remender did not write Black Hammer.
Well, he didn't.
So you have to find a different. What was it?
Black Science.
Black Science. Yes, if it was Black Science, it would work. Yes, a Rick Remender reminder. And we've got Slim Comics here. Sean, excellent YouTuber, does a great live show every week.
Nice.
So I guess it's my turn. And my brain is still full of Rick Remender thoughts now. Well, I was at this amazing comic book store here in Portland called Cosmic Monkey. And they have a lot of imported comics. And this was on their recommended shelf by one of their staff members. And I just flipped through it quickly. And once you start spending a lot of money, you just throw something else on. So this was kind of an expensive import. It was $25. It's a hardback, but it's very thin. But let me show it to you. I can't even figure out what country it's from, to tell you the truth. I'll be very upset if I find out there's a cheap version printed in England. It's a silent comic, so it doesn't matter. But
well, now I want to see how much is.
Whoops! How do I do that? There we go. It's called Syntax Terror, and it's a crazy sci-fi invasion story. But it's just the aliens come to Earth and do awful things to human beings. And for some reason, their spaceship is a giant owl. I have no idea.
Looks cool though.
And the giant owl lands in the city, and then killer robots come out of the giant owl and start zapping people, turning them into skeletons.
Wow.
So it's fun art. Maybe it was the Halloween spirit that got me. Rick Ray says he believes it's in it. So here on the back, there's some text. I don't know what language that is.
Yeah, that looks Finnish.
It is
because of double or Swedish, because there's double.
I guess this is the book company name, Zim Tufel. They do have in English, and I didn't notice till after I read it, a blurb that's in English at the bottom. Danger nears, oh galactic wanderer. Stormy clouds loom over the horizon as a mysterious force approaches our very own planet. Dive deep into the horrific tale of... Sorry?
It is finished because I just found a website.
Dive deep into a tale of gore and guts as a robot menace is unleashed on Earth and all hell breaks loose. Mars Attacks was just a prelude to the horrors you're about to face. On Earth, everyone can hear you scream. So it was fun. It was one of those books that I asked myself, is this really a comic or a bunch of illustrations about an idea? And it's on the edge. Like, there are sequences where you can understand what's happening, and there's other sequences where it's just cool images of aliens attacking humans. In this one, they're taking their brains out. But, so they take their brains out, then we see these screaming robot faces, and then they're surfing with sharks. I have no idea. But still, it's cool. If I paid less for it, I would definitely recommend it to other people, but I wouldn't say it's a $25 purchase. But if you could get it for half that, I think it would be really cool.
It's 20 euros. I saw it on another website. So,
and it is a hardback. But then it does have a cool bonus feature. A little bit of 3D art.
Oh, amazing.
And it came with the 3D glasses. And of course, we can't share that. It doesn't work like this. But some of these images were really, like this one here was really incredible in 3D.
Wow.
This part in the question mark floated above the whole picture.
Wow.
So it made me wish for even more 3D. And I did find when I looked at some of these pictures in 3D, there with the 3D glasses on, there would be kind of weird elements that would pop out of the page. I don't know if it was on purpose, but so it was interesting to look at in 3D. So I guess there are some people, and I'm sometimes I tend to grab 3D things, so that's another reason maybe to grab this. Hey, Bob's here from Everything Comics.
Hello, Bob.
I guess he had a lot of 3D things in his childhood. I wish I did, but I don't think I did. So it's, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a comic book, it's an art book. It's just kind of if you like seeing pictures of alien invasions. I did have a weird moment of PTSD, not real PTSD, because I haven't been to war or anything. But I've been reading so much about the attack on Ukraine. For a moment, I associated these kind of hideous aliens with the Russians attacking Ukraine, and the bombing of civilians and the torture and everything that we're learning about. So there was a moment where I stopped enjoying it and was depressed by it, but then I got past that. But anyway, it's an interesting thing, and I don't know. So they don't even put the author's name on the cover. But somewhere, here, Carrie R. Sehoven, or something like that. And it's from 2022. It's a brand new book. But see here, it gives an address, but even the address doesn't tell me what country it's in. Anyway, they don't make a big deal about the author, but I think this person has a lot of talent and is very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, all this pages look covered with their details.
Really, the colors are kind of, it's a certain kind of color taste, I guess. But yeah, I was enjoyed the art and everything.
Yeah, cool.
So that's kind of the wildest thing I read this week.
So that's Cosmic Monkey. That's what you said?
Yeah, if you ever come to Portland, you definitely should go to Floating World and Cosmic Monkey.
Yeah.
Cosmic Monkey imports a lot of stuff from Europe, and they stock a lot of the indie comics. Yeah, it does. It was a bit of a mashup of War of the Worlds and Mars Attacks. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the way to.
I think anytime you do those books at these points, it's gonna be, you can't get away from that comparison. I think. And
those are fun things. I definitely enjoy both the War of Worlds and Mars Attacks. And let's face it, Mars Attacks was inspired by War of the Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's one of the very first science fiction novels ever written in the English language. So it's a very powerful icon of the iconography of science fiction.
My dad had the War of the Worlds LP that we listened to a million times when we were kids, and it was kind of like music and narration, and like it's to this day, as soon as I hear
anything, the Orson Welles one?
Back. Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Oh, sorry, no, no, it's not the Orson Welles narrated one. Sorry, it's that story, obviously, but it's narrated by somebody else. It's not that original. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic, really great.
Yeah, as Bob is pointing out, Cosmic Monkey also puts on this, which is coming back now, our comic swap.
Oh,
it's actually in one week from Saturday. So I think a bunch of us will be going there and saving money by spending a lot of money on cheap comics.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've been to one. We had one comic swap here many years ago. It was so much fun with the small group of like comic addicts or whatever. It was so great.
Well, they call it a comic swap, but it's really a place where you can get a cheap table and sell off your comics.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So as someone going shopping for comics, it's a place to get 50-cent comics, dollar comics, that kind of thing.
Nice.
John Burton.
Yeah, I think he's probably commenting
that might
on
be
the
the
record.
narrator.
Possibly, yeah, that possibly.
Yep.
Richard Burton, yeah. Hello, Gore, by the way.
Gore is here. Hello, Gore, yes. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone else who showed up. The B-52s would be a good soundtrack to this book, actually.
Yeah.
Someone should do a whole goofy alien book with just B-52s music. That would be awesome. Okay, we could go back around to Terrence, if you're ready.
Okay, I'm totally ready. So staying with the sort of Portland themed and art book, one of the things I grabbed from the library was Afterland, put out by Floating World quite a few years ago now at this point, 2014, 2016. So the artist's name is Chris Taylor. And this is, there's a designer, this Robert Beatty is his name. He also does experimental music. But it really reminded me kind of like a cross between his stuff and Fantastic Planet or Planet Sauvage or whatever.
The famous animated Frenchman. Gorgeous.
This is a gorgeous. So this artist, he does a lot of design work and he does some music actually too. I found some of his music on Bandcamp. It's a stunning book and it's very graphic. It's on the list of one to pick up actually. I'm glad I found it at the library, but I think this needs to find its way home with me, maybe a new copy of it. There was promise of a volume 2 as well, but that never came to pass. Actually, the beauty of Twitter, I guess, whoever's running their Twitter, when I posted about this, I asked them if there was a volume 2 coming, and they said no, but who knows? Very basic kind of premise. We start off with these two dreamers, these two entities, and one is having a dream where she's having a vision. So I guess this poison coming from this flower is inducing this kind of vision about who they need to find to kind of assist with some sort of mission. It's all kind of vague, but just the intro alone, it's really incredible. And there we have the dreamer getting surrounded by this kind of milk coming from this flower. And she envisions a creature that's the same color as their sky, is what they say. So an alien that looks yellow. And they form together to create this one entity who's going to go now and kind of find this other person, I guess. And when we get introduced to our yellow person, she seems to be involved in some sort of espionage, some sort of magic. She's passing off this jewel to this other almost vampire-looking creature here. And that she lives in this other, it's this real odd mix of, I think that there's two worlds here. possibly one that's up in the clouds, and possibly one that's on Earth. But it's sort of kind of vague in the storytelling. You can't quite make heads or tails of some of it, but it's not so abstract that it becomes frustrating. And honestly, when you get some of the images like you have in here that are just so beautifully designed and just a real interesting graphic style. I'm assuming at this point that everything is done digitally. So my guess is that this is done digitally, these textures. But of course, yeah, this kind of stuff here. I just really like the layout of those pages. And I mean, this is another one, like you were saying, Damien, there's more text in this one than the one you showed, but there isn't much, and it's kind of a threadbare story. So it really does kind of balance between being just an art book versus necessarily like a comic book, especially when you're dealing with pages where they have one giant panel. But I mean, when the panels look like this, really beautiful, striking kind of graphics throughout. So highly recommended. I don't think there was another thing that Floating World put out by Dave Taylor that was it was a, yeah, absolutely, it was a sketchbook, but as far as I could tell, I've only seen those two. Yeah, it does have a Matodi kind of feel to it for sure, Scott. There was only these two books by him, and then he does a lot of stuff for advertising and a lot of kind of design for things. His website is super interesting, actually, and you can click through. He did some video promos for this book, I think 2 of them, where I'm assuming it's his music is kind of the backing track that's worth checking out. It leans more into that kind of Fantastic Planet kind of world with those trailers, but a really, really gorgeous book to sit and flip through in an afternoon.
Very cool. I'm going to have to see next time I go to Floating World if they still have copies of that.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out it's amazing that your library has Floating World comics. That's
Floating World themselves were amazed. They're like, it's so good to see that in a library. So that was great. Yeah, and they had 2 copies at the library, actually, which was super impressive to me as well, too. I don't think I've ever seen any Floating World stuff at our library. This is the first time. So they must have someone in there who's maybe got donated some books. I'm not sure how that always works.
I wish I knew. I would be putting ear to my library, and it'll be probably very annoying.
Yeah.
Go away, woman, what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So Jack Yo is here. Yo, Jack Yo. We're glad to see you. And Rick Ray has joined in. And I think I already saw Gore there. Yeah. And yes, Slim liked that artwork.
Yeah.
I don't know who Matodi is. So
he did this book called Fires that I have. He's done a bunch, and he had a very kind of graphic. He had a very illustrative, almost design type of look. I'll find it and then kind of show you.
So yeah,
Peter Cooper as well too. Yeah.
So there are a lot of people seeing a lot of things in that artwork.
Yeah.
Good.
I suppose there's like certain convergences that happen amongst different groups of artists, and very cool. Okay, we'll go back around to Rasa.
I'm reliving in 90s. It seems to be even my comic reading started one more time in the 90s. So I'll be I read the random one Hulk I saw. I unfortunately haven't collected that many of the Hulk stuff.
Is that the Peter David era of the Hulk?
Yeah, this is the Peter David era. This is apparently a middle of his storytelling in the Incredible Hulk. So he started in 1987, according to some sources on the web. And this is like one of the famous, apparently in 90s was the comic because of he was exploring like a multiple personality disorder in actual Bruce Banner, and he had many of the Hulks in this. What I was surprised by, it's very, and it starts very gimmicky. It's like, honey, I shrunk the Hulk, the The movie, yeah. So it's we're sitting down, and it seems to be now Doc Samson, which I'm not really aware of him. I know he appeared first time in the Hulk comic as well, isn't it? If I'm
Doc Samson, yeah, he started
Yeah.
as a Hulk character back in the late 60s or early 70s.
Yeah. So, and then we have a Grey Hulk, which I'm not familiar a lot more either. So Hulk realm is, I'm kind of new to this, but it was very interesting to see how this at first I wasn't aware exactly what's happening, like the fight between two Hulks. They couldn't damage themselves, and we actually find out that they are in Bruce Banner's head, because Doc Samson got hold of help from the guy who can basically hypnotize him. And then I see this panel. And this panel is alien, screams alien to me.
Yeah.
But also this is the monster in our Bruce Banner's little boy's head, which is basically what's tormenting him throughout this issue. And we find out why is that, because of his relationship with his dad and his basically family relationships. And so yeah, he is ringmaster who basically Doc Samson employed to hypnotize Bruce Banner and basically help him to merge him from this multiple disorder. And it's really, really well told storyline. We get introduction. It reminds you of that like seriousness of the life when he was a child, and he remembers his mom, how young she was. The place where like how everything happened, why he was the creature was talking like he would be stalking his father. So basically the creature we're seeing, it is his father in little boy's head. So very emotional, to be honest, and it's actually very intriguing issue, just for sake of it, reading it. And I really like kind of it. Then you see this kind of things, and if it's well written, makes it more interesting to actually more maybe go into and reading more Hulk stuff. Because I always think one of my first actual single comic books was a Hulk issue, because I always find it fascinating to get started with that character as well. And this is Rick Ray, isn't it? Isn't he have like powers of what powers Rick Ray has? Is he
Rick Jones?
Rick Jones. Is it Rick Jones? Yeah, Rick Jones. Sorry,
well,
not Rick.
He's had various incarnations. Like for a while, he could trade bodies with Captain Marvel.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
So recently he got gamma irradiated, and is somehow a new version of the Abomination. But I don't know if that happened back then.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really well told storyline, and then afterwards, apparently, so everything got consolidated, and it seems to be everything worked. But then, of course, not everything goes around how they were planning to get the things done, and then there's this spoiler panel from 1991 saying, "Oh, hello, honey, I'm back." That's his wife, Betty Ross.
Right.
Because I wasn't even aware he was even married to Betty Ross. I know Betty Ross as his fling, maybe, or like a girlfriend, but I've never thought that they were actually married. So apparently they did. And it looks great, to be honest, for 90s for 90s comic book. It's fantastic.
Right.
So I can't really say, like there is some sort of like storyline sometimes it doesn't click, but this was really good for me. I guess I'm starting to listen to more like 90s music. I'm starting to watch 90s stuff like Law and Order. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's just the theme of my head. So it seems to be my head continues. I wasn't aware when I picked up to read this that it was 90s, but yeah, again, 90s. So is my brain saying something? Maybe
next
I'm time
you'll be
traveling.
Reading Spawn and Rob Liefeld comics.
Yeah. The last week when you weren't there, or last week I think, I was reading Mage from the Wagner stuff.
Yes,
so,
I listened, but
so exactly. So I'm kind of that, but I was, as I say, feeling in that realm of things, and honestly finding stuff. Maybe I judged too early, like I always do lately. So. And then just accidentally reading something which is not bad, to be honest. Yeah. And I'm very curious because I guess She-Hulk is in my mind because I'm watching that TV show. So the Hulk's in the background. So when I see something, okay, let me see. And I don't know if I've read it before, so I didn't. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, that Peter David run was very long, and so I've been intimidated to go back to it. But I read bits and pieces of it at the time and remember liking it a lot.
So this is
and you showing that reminds me, makes me realize how much Immortal Hulk, the Al Ewing run, drew from that era.
Yeah, because Peter David started it apparently in 1987. So imagine this is 1991, so it's already 4 years in the Hulk. So and
I think he might have done 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And they said that's just halfway through of his run. So imagine where he took the Hulk. And interesting, honestly, very. Oh, like a. There you go. And
it's a good reminder that there were good comics, even coming from Marvel in the 90s. Sometimes I forget that.
Yeah, it gets overshadowed by other stuff. Yeah.
Well, I base that opinion sometimes on YouTube, what people used to be saying about comics when I start reading them. You know, what you should read first. Leave the 90s a bit later. Kind of read the good stuff from the 70s, and just that's what I used to hear. So in that kind of mindset, I guess I preconceived that notion as well. But it's good to explore, no matter which ways it is.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, in the chat, people have been talking about Elektra and Daredevil are getting married.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat. Yeah.
I'm kind of blown away by that.
I'm sure it won't last.
It won't go well. Of course it won't go well.
Yeah.
It's Daredevil. But Bob, it's been, because everyone associates Bob with Daredevil. He hasn't even read it yet, but has heard all about it. But I'm kind of curious. I guess it's not surprising. They had to go there at some point. They have to do everything eventually with these characters that go on forever. So people were discussing whether they had a prenup. I don't know. Does Matt Murdock have much money to lose?
It depends now in which state it is. Is he happy lawyer who has money, or is he that one who's been destroyed by Kingpin and doesn't have a penny?
I'm assuming he's currently kind of destroyed, but I'm not. I haven't kept up. I keep meaning to catch up with the Chip Zdarsky run, but I haven't.
Yeah, I'm completely out of the new stuff. I keep on looking because I like Daredevil, and you'll see when I will talk about a couple of Daredevils. But since I saw him once again on She-Hulk, it got me excited about him as a TV show character, because I like the way portrayal of him by the character, like by the actor as well, is really good, and it seems to be chemistry really good between She-Hulk. Oh,
sorry, I put up this thing while we're talking.
No.
Apparently, Dale Keown had his first YouTube live stream and fell asleep in front of the camera for 4 hours because he'd been drinking. So that might explain why we don't see so much Dale Keown. Or it might be that he had stage fright and drank too much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he does.
That's a little sad.
He definitely can draw, and it's quite honestly, his females are absolutely fantastically drawn in this comic book. And I really like when I see this, like when you read a comic book, but when we chat and I show you these pages for the screen and look at it, it's like, Jesus, that looks good.
It does look, honestly, it does look pretty good.
Yeah, it's just there is some nice moments in here where everything happens, and then the directions of what it is. It's a little bit kind of like Bruce Banner itself. Maybe he wanted to have him like completely, but like Ringmaster looks fantastic. Looks like fucking cunning little shit, and he's like, "Oh, thank you for taking me to work for you, because I know I wasn't guilty, because they took him from a jail to do this job," which is hilarious. But anyway, Dale Keown.
Cool. Well, you're always bringing me back to stuff that I should read.
Well, you should do what I do. That's why I go to my.
Eventually, I'll get to it all.
When I get my reading of comic books in the week is quite slow. The comic books which I have in my collection is always a beauty to get, because this is exactly how it brings me back to comics again.
Jesus Christ.
He hates this the artist Scott Young's babies.
Oh, let me just rub my eyes for a minute. Oh my God.
He's coming to get Alan Moore with his evil baby eye.
Why do you hate babies?
None of my shops had this Miracle Man Zero, and that's actually why I went to Cosmic Monkey, and all they had were these Scotty Young covers, which would not have been my choice.
Yeah.
I think it's actually, I kind of like this cover, but I would have wanted a regular cover. And I saw some people on YouTube saying, "Oh, I picked up Miracle Man for the first time. It's issue 0. It'll be a great starting point." And this is issue 0 leading in, but not actually leading in, to the Neil Gaiman run. Not the Alan Moore run, which they're soon to publish an omnibus of the Alan Moore run, which years ago they were reprinting in much too expensive floppies. So I've been waiting for this omnibus to reread the Alan Moore run, which I think I just read in scattered pieces back in the 80s. But meanwhile, we're going to get this fabled Neil Gaiman run, which he and Bill Willingham started and never completed. And so part of the whole deal, when Neil Gaiman sold Miracle Man, somehow Neil Gaiman ended up owning Miracle Man. He sold Miracle Man to Marvel, and part of the deal was they were going to publish this completed thing, and it's taken a really long time. And I don't know if it's because of Gaiman or the artist or because of Marvel. So what this Miracle Man really is stories that take place sort of folded inside of the golden age story world that Neil Gaiman created. So this is really stuff, I think, to read after you read the Neil Gaiman series.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for 1 sec?
Sorry?
Can I just interrupt you for 1 sec? So is this new stories, or is this stuff that came out that they've repackaged?
No, okay. I believe this is issue 0. I believe starting with issue 1, they're going to repackage the beginning of the series that Gaiman and Willingham did, and then they will continue it. They will complete it.
Right.
And this 0 issue is just to get you excited for it. And it's new stories by people who work for Marvel.
Okay.
Some of their regulars.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a little intro in this sort of bizarrely hyped up utopia created by Miracle Man that he lives in, where he's looking through the library, finds some comic books and starts reading. And that part's written by Neil Gaiman. And then each story is one of the comic book stories that he reads. So there's one by Ryan Stegman, which is just about, there's this really cool ad for a pretend animated show. That was one of my favorite things. But then later in the comic are real ads. And it's just a little nothing story, right? That these Marvel writers are in a bind, right? They have to write a story that is part of this uncompleted story already. So they have to write stuff that just doesn't matter at all. There's this fun one written by one of my favorite writers, Mike Carey, the guy who did Lucifer, which is an imitation of a 2000 AD story. So it has writer droid Mike Carey, art droid Paul Davidson. You know how those short stories always were in 2000 AD. And it's about, I vaguely remember these warp smiths, and I can't remember anymore what they do, but this one warp smith is obsessed with Earth PI, private eye stories. So he kind of enacts that while on one of his missions. And that was a pretty good story. See, there's it's kind of weird when you come across these regular Marvel ads, especially after that joke ad that I mentioned. But anyway, that was a pretty good story. And then there's a story by Peach Momoko, which was interesting, but I didn't really understand it. And I don't know if that's because there's stuff I forgot. I've pretty much completely blanked out whatever happened in the Neil Gaiman series that I did read. I think I had a trade of the first arc of it or something. But so, yeah, it was kind of cool. And then my favorite thing by the same guy who did that fake ad are little comic strips that are all about characters from the Mr. Miracle, the Miracle Man / Marvel Man mythos. So you've got him doing Doonesbury, you've got him doing Life in Hell, and Little Nemo, and Crazy Cat. So that was very cool.
Wow.
But again, I don't know how much you'd understand if you haven't read it. If this was your first issue, even these, because this one is a joke about there's that character who was like Miracle Man Jr., who grows up and becomes evil. But when he turns back, when he says Komoda or whatever it is, he has to say he becomes a little boy again that he was when he first turned into the superhero.
Shazam! Shazam!
So this is the evil superhero and his little boy counterpart talking together. But if you've never read this, you'd have no idea. It's not even Miracle Man there. And then this other one where in some universe, Miracle Man goes and meets the writer who created him. And there's a whole bunch of multiversal talk about how he thinks if he destroys the writer, he'll destroy all the different Miracle Men in all the different multiverses.
Who drew that one?
He's another Marvel regular. He's a good artist. What's his name? He's from the Philippines. Lineal Francis Yu.
Oh, okay, yeah. Really
I've liked some of his work at Marvel, and some of it seemed too rushed, but he does a good job here. But it's again a meaningless story. It was kind of fun. But so this is fun for someone who has at least some memory of what Miracle Man is all about. And then they do there's a Gary Leach, who I think was the very first artist on Miracle Man or Marvel Man in the first few stories, died recently. And this is a really cool picture by him. I don't recall seeing that one before. And then they actually preview some pages of Bill Willingham art that'll be coming up. So it's kind of a nice package for a Miracle Man fan. I just seeing these people thinking, hey, I'll get on the Miracle Man bandwagon now that they're starting from scratch.
Zero. Yeah.
You're in big trouble. So I'm just kind of warning people, depending on your interest in Miracle Man, this might be worth getting.
So the plan is to complete the Neil Gaiman story. They want to. Okay.
So, and of course, to get you to buy the whole thing again, let's see, where did it go? Somewhere they say, next, issue 1. Join us later this month for Miracle Man: The Silver Age #1, where Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham recreate and complete the most anticipated story in comic history. So I'm not sure what recreate means.
Well, the thing is, don't forget when they were reprinting them in the floppies once again, you can go out. Probably you can find them for 50 cents or $1 for a copy. Yeah. You don't have to wait for those if you want to actually read originals. Because there was a time when they came out, everybody went crazy again, Miracle Man, and it died down again. And the comics you couldn't even sell to people. Nobody wanted them
because they marketed it in a very bad way. They padded it out with all these stories people weren't interested in.
They bagged them as well. They had it in the
for some reason they bagged them because they thought they were too adult for comic book shops, which seemed really funny now.
Exactly.
And they charged more. They charged more than the average comic at the time for them.
Yeah. So if you're gonna go reprint again, people wait a little bit, see what people actually say, whoever decides to buy them, and then honestly, just go out in your comic book shops. I bet you can find them in the bins.
True, and they did publish them in trades, so your library might have them. But I didn't buy the trades because I didn't want gutter loss. And they even published them in hardbacks that were glued and had terrible. I got one of those from the library just to see.
Yeah. So keep on pushing that Miracle Man in the Marvel. Is that means that they have some sort of licensing issues, and that's why they want to continue pushing?
I think they own it outright.
Okay, so interesting.
So there was a big lawsuit between Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, and also involved the estate of the actual creator of the original children's version. So somehow Alan Moore and the publisher of Warrior magazine owned part of it, and the estate owned part of it, and Neil Neil Gaiman was given rights by Alan Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Which I wonder how he feels about that now that it's sold to Marvel Comics. And so after a lot of legal wrangling and getting all the parties together, Marvel bought it. Poor Todd McFarlane ended up with nothing, I think, because he thought he had bought the rights to it when he bought all the rights to everything by the American publisher of it, whoever that was. I'm trying to remember the name.
Eclipse. There, it was Eclipse.
Was it Eclipse? Okay, yeah. He bought Eclipse, whatever was left of Eclipse at the end. So that kind of makes me wonder if he owns rights to other things that we actually like. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was definitely fun for me to read, but it was definitely just a fluff thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, again, I think Marvel is blowing their marketing of Miracle Man, because a lot of the newer readers are going to grab this Zero issue and say, what's the big deal? Who cares?
Right.
Well, Gaiman, the name is, if he's actually writing it down, not just saying that it is his, whoever created it, and then if he's actually writing, there's lots of people going to jump in just because of his name. So.
Yeah, they've been promoting Miracle Man on variant covers all over Marvel this month.
Really?
So I was going in the comic book stores and seeing Miracle Man all over the place, but where's the Miracle Man comic? I can't find it.
Right.
Well, like if he did it last time, it's funny how it just comes back.
I guess he's happy to be rid of the whole thing, but
doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
But
that's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't care.
Isn't the whole
he's
point,
constantly
like with
asked
Watchmen,
about
he really cares what happens to the future of his characters and doesn't want them being screwed over?
He doesn't. I don't think he gives a single shit anymore. It's just he continually gets asked, and then he just keeps amping up his answers. You know, calling superhero fans fascists and all these things just to get people like worked up, because I think he'd probably never want to get asked these questions anymore. You know, I love seeing the interviews and the reaction from people when he talks about comics. I'm sure he's so over it that he's just now like, there's probably a part of him that's just purely trolling at the same time, right? Like
he is. I think he enjoys the reaction. Yeah. Yeah, so we could have like Miracle Man fights Conan, Miracle Man versus Predator, Miracle Man in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But they can't do it on the movie set, apparently somebody says,
Oh, really? They don't have the movie rights.
Expect him to. I know, maybe we do.
Yeah, he'll be fighting Thanos in one of the, or Kang in the movie.
Oh, look,
but
talking
more
about
likely as Loading the Cannon is implying, they will probably just flub the whole thing and then kind of put Miracle Man back in the closet and not deal with him.
Yeah, well, that's what happened before, like a couple of years ago. Honestly, I remember.
That's when Chaos and Comics gets the rights.
Yeah.
Where's Mickey Mouse? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There can be a Mickey Miracle Man who says Komoda and turns into Miracle Man.
And then you have that famous issue where no kid's supposed to see with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, be like Air Pirates and Miracle Man and Mickey Mouse all in one big sloppy threesome.
We've struck a Dallas nerve.
The Mavericks. It's hilarious.
Okay, well, let's go back to the famous Krakk.
So just quickly, this is Matoti, one of his books, the only one that I have actually.
Okay.
From Catalan Communications. And I mean, you know, again, it's this very kind of more artistic painterly
I can see the
kind of
similarity
style
to the other one in the style.
Yeah, and definitely like a lot more graphic. It's beautiful stuff, and this is just the only thing. He's done quite a few. This is the only thing I actually have.
But that looks more like a real comic book, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly, because it has the panels, exactly, the panel layouts and things, not just one image. The thing that I'll talk about,
Miracle Man versus Pogo.
Yeah.
Almost no one will know either character.
Yeah.
You know who Pogo is, Rasa?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure
because of you guys, I know what Pogo is now.
He's a pretty much forgotten newspaper character, newspaper
No, it's
cartoon.
because of you guys. I know who spoke on, so no worries. Yeah, you educated me well. Thank you.
Oh, hello.
Sorry
so this this is the artist from Golden Age, Rasa Pedrosa. So this is Portugal from NBM. A real thick sucker. I loved this one. So he does he does writing and art on this one, and it's just as gorgeous, if not even more so, than the Golden Age. He changes his color palettes throughout the story. He's got a real nice handle. So here's kind of like a memory that he's having of his childhood. Like, look how gorgeous that panel is. Just mixing in that color with some black and white, that's again, really like nice illustrating that idea of memory, like what you're remembering and what the surroundings are and stuff. Like, it is such a great story. So this guy, the main character, is a comics artist, and he's it hit a slump where he doesn't really know, I got to show you this one. I've never seen anybody capture in this way someone swimming. It's beautiful as the movement coming towards you and the hands drawing and everything. Unbelievable. So this comic artist has this girlfriend. He's in this relationship. He's very kind of, at this point in his life when we first kind of meet him, he doesn't really want to seem to participate in anything. He's got this writer's block, so he's not creating anything. He's kind of ho-hum about his relationship with his girlfriend. They're thinking about buying a house. He's ho-hum about that. He's really just not into kind of participating in society whatsoever. So he starts thinking back to his family. He's invited to a funeral by his cousin, or sorry, not a funeral, a wedding. Sorry, I'm confusing books. He's invited to a wedding of his cousin who he hasn't seen in like 30 years. So it sparks this relationship again between him and his father. And he goes to see, his father has a brother and a sister. So he goes and participates in this and kind of gets to know his family again, and just starts thinking about his interactions with the world and his childhood when he lived in Portugal. It is such a beautiful book. It's a really, really wonderful story. This whole idea of kind of thinking about your place in the history of your family, where certain character traits may come from, just kind of the lineage of human beings on top of things like dealing with your history. One of the things I've been addicted to lately is I've been watching Antiques Roadshow, the UK version of it. So this idea of this kind of like finding your place, because there's a lot of stories on that show as well too about like where these pieces came from. They came from my great grandpa, and they've been a part of our family lineage and stuff. So this does a beautiful job of kind of doing that. And you start seeing, as it kind of moves further on, him starting to kind of get to know cousins and friends of the family, especially when he goes to live in Portugal and spend some time in this house. And it's interesting. He sort of starts leaving his art behind. He gets these kind of commercial art jobs, but because he starts interacting more with people and his surroundings and the town, every once in a while they show this panel of his art table, his work table. This is beautiful stuff here too. The colors are just so gorgeous in this book. Like, it was such a pleasure to read, such a really nicely written and kind of paced out story. So he starts kind of interacting more and learning the language, and just kind of leaving his art behind and becoming kind of, there's a shot of his work table. And as we get kind of further into the story, there's more clutter on that table. There's more, it's apparent that he's not using it for anything other than just kind of piling groceries on and piling this life on that table. Beautiful. And then at the back, we also get a couple of pages of his sketchbook when he was kind of preparing for this book. Here we go. So here we go. Some pages from his sketchbooks as he was kind of planning for the story and just kind of creating pieces. And I love the way it's presented in this as well. I'm so glad I found this one. I love, like we talked about before. No, I get it on YouTube there, Gray Man. I watch it on YouTube. And I've also been watching, just as a quick aside, Fake or Fortune, which is kind of like an art. People find these art pieces from famous artists, and then they do this whole hour. And it's one of the hosts from Antiques Roadshow. Anyway, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. Again, I got to give a shout out to Mind the Comics for putting me onto this one. I know Paulo has mentioned it as well too, that this is something that's available in English, and I'm really, again, like, library comes through again, like this sitting on the shelf there. This is an amazing book, probably one of the best reads that I've had this week. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was just a really nice story. There isn't anything like mind-blowing that happens. There isn't some major turn that happens. It's just a really, really nice, simple story of this guy kind of getting refamiliar with his family, and kind of you see his character shift as opposed to shifting to someone who gets detached from society. It's a nice change of pace to have someone that's shifting to kind of participating in society, participating with his surroundings. It leaves you on a really kind of upbeat note at the end, for sure. So highly recommended that one.
Is this the book written by the same chick with him together, Cyril Pedrosa, or is it just him?
It's just him. Yeah, just him on his own for this one. I don't know if it's his first. There's a picture and a little bio of him there, but I don't know if it's his first. Oh, and that's the other thing I wanted to touch on, because he ended up working Disney and working on stuff like Hunchback of Notre Dame and Hercules. There is some really nice. I love that kind of that early era. Not that those movies that he cites there early era, but I loved seeing like 1001 Dalmatians, Cinderella. When you see kind of like the pre-planning for the movies, there's a real specific style there that is really apparent, that kind of classic Disney illustrative style throughout this whole book. And again, the watercolor is just beautiful. Equinoxes, I've got to get that one there, Rickard. Thanks for that.
And hello, Rickard. New to my channel, as far as I know. Thanks for joining us.
Do you guys know that Europe Comics has YouTube channel?
I didn't.
Yeah, they have an interview with him and Roxanne Morel, whatever, the writer of The Golden Age.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you can guys check it out on YouTube. They talk about that book in general, and they show you a couple of pages, of course, of it. I've spoken about it. Terrence spoke about The Golden Age, so people, if you haven't checked it out, have a look.
The Golden Age was like a medieval fantasy, right?
Yes.
Correct.
That's very different. At first, I thought maybe I misheard that it wasn't the same guy.
Yeah.
I confess I got The Golden Age out of the library and read the first few pages and put it down. And I guess I need to get past the conversation around the campfire. I'm assuming that's not what the whole book is like.
No, they play a part though. Those characters are those characters are amazing, because as they go through their arc,
they go through
as these kind of background characters, they kind of add an extra layer to that story. That's pretty nicely handled, actually.
If you just pass them through, and when they meet somebody who asks for directions to go in the right way, then everything just unravels in the story.
It opens up from there. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah. And I looked at that Pedrosa.
Sometimes you need to explore your library more. Just saying. Yeah. Sometimes you don't even realize what good stuff is at your library.
Yeah.
I just looked like always for your book. Then you showed just now the Portugal one. So it seems to be that it's not really available. It's like you Kindle or ebook. It's really readily available to buy for sure. But in the book format, of course, Amazon always sets the bar £60 for that.
Right.
Because maybe
this printing was 2017. But originally was 2011, and then the first English translation was 2015. So quite a bit of time. Oh, and there's a thing for equinoxes there too on that first page, with a very kind of nice graphic, illustrative kind of cover there. Yeah, I love.
Hello to Paulo. Speaking of Portugal.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Hello.
So while I was sick, I treated myself to a new webcam, And I forgot until just a moment ago that it will follow me.
I was thinking, why?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I didn't remember that was one of its skills.
That's very
so
strange.
Suddenly I noticed it moving around, and I'm like, what's going on?
Motion sickness incoming.
Yeah.
And apparently it knows what a face is and knows to follow the face.
Right.
Yeah.
You could I'm trying to get out of the screen camera, and it follows me. I can't escape.
Anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
someone mentioned, I think Chaos did, that some of these books are on Hoopla, so I'm going to go look there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on to Rasa.
Yeah. Look who appeared in my realm of
Hey,
I got hold of it. Used. It looks good for used version.
Man. Used is better than nothing.
Yeah, so
used
I got
is
it
cheaper usually.
Well, used is at the price I was happy to pay. Let's say this way, it wasn't overpriced because
online
they can now
or local.
No, online. I had to go nothing. I don't do local. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
I do online. But anyway, thankfully I finally have him. But it's really cool figure. I mean, it's so very
Beautiful,
simple.
man.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's just really well done because they're coming out with him, but with a movie version of this figure. So I don't want this. This is exactly what Kang is, you know.
Yep.
So anyway,
the classic.
Nice one. Nice score.
Yes, I'm so happy now. I can say I have him because I really like the way it made it, and it's the plastic is made from. It's really cool. Like it's like flexible anyway.
Another great design from Jack Kirby.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go, exactly. Now I am going because I was feeling I need to do more Daredevil, so I'm going through my collections, and to my surprise, like always, you know, because I don't do research, but this is drawn by Steve Ditko, and I can't see Ditko in this at all. It says like here. So Danny Fingeroff is a writer, Steve Ditko breakdown artist, and there's a colorist. Because there's a finisher called Danny Bulanadi, which I'm not, and then I think that's why it becomes not.
Yeah. And when it says breakdowns, that means like very, very loose pencils.
Right.
Shoot, that's why. Also like no. This is am I going crazy anyway? So I needed some Daredevil reading again, so I keep on coming back to my the collections I have, and here it's called a safe place. So once again, as Daredevil is meant to be in the books, he's trying to basically come back to being what he is after the big storyline was with Mazzucchelli's art and Frank Miller. So this is aftermaths, kind of. Like after everything, whatever happened, and in here, and you can see it's like there's no Ditko. There's maybe a couple of glimpses of maybe action scenes, which is really good. But the story goes is that Daredevil is going, and it has this really crazy phases throughout this comic book, which is like kind of freaky. It actually reminded me of Preacher in a way because of the facial expressions.
I can see like deep underneath the inking that is Ditko, but if I wasn't told it was Ditko, I wouldn't see it.
Well, anyway, I got really excited about but then afterwards, like when you read it out loud, it's like, oh damn! I
remember that inker, and I never really liked him very much. I'm sad to say. Yeah.
So it's a story about Mr. Hyde, and he returns of it, and then the Daredevil comes into an alley. So basically, if Daredevil feels like in Hell's Kitchen to basically find something to do, he has to go to Josie's, and apparently because of Josie's, there's something's going to happen in district of something, and we meet the Hyde. Apparently this character is appeared with what he was like Avengers, isn't it? The Hyde was a part of it, and then of course Daredevil, he's been kind of like chosen by him to just not chosen by him, but he was in the right moment, right, and stuff. So Daredevil becomes like going to investigate, and then Hyde has a problem because he's a split personality once again. Theme of the reading for me for this week, split personality, and then he has to take this serum to go back to a normal state. One funny fact: look at the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s new ghetto, which is hilarious. This is, and it says in here, Supreme Headquarters International Espionage Law Enforcement Division. That's how it's supposed to say SHIELD. This is a great name. It's like magic out loud for a while. Anyway, so here it is, boys. The Super SWAT boys out of the latest SHIELD weaponry. So they are really cool guys, and it looks like they're just wearing hazmats with stuff. So that was a bit hilarious. So anyway,
that looks like the AIM AIM outfit.
Yeah, I know it does look like it, but it says SHIELD, so it asterisk.
Someone made a mistake, I think.
Well, maybe, but I mean, according to him and according to this extra.
No, like maybe the artist made a mistake in remembering what SHIELD agents look like versus AIM.
Exactly. So anyways, that was a hilarious part. But so he's supposed to take serums to turn back into his human form, but he couldn't. So something is wrong with him. And it's all starts going to give you a little bit more storyline, how why he's struggling to decide if he wants to go back to human form, and now, but because he can't, he's like, oh my god, do I do it? Because he needs to escape, because apparently he was captured before, he once again escaped, and then because he wanted to hide from the police, he wanted to turn back into human form, is in his alter ego, let's say this way, famously said, but he couldn't do it. And this is the way the Daredevil, we're trying to disclose how Devil's seen and managed to kind of sniff him out, really, because he has extra senses of everything, heightened senses and that. So he managed to basically get hold of him and find him where he's at. And of course, while the whole story of him taking the syrup and is about to take it, Daredevil intervenes. And he's basically saying thank you to Daredevil, because from now on, I'm just going to be Hyde, and I don't need to be human anymore, because I'm not superior if I'm human, even though he has the heightened intellect and stuff like that. Very kind of, I mean, I'm not, it's fast-paced reading, and exactly what Daredevil wanted, I wanted to have in my reading. I read it through it really quickly, and I thoroughly once again enjoyed it. This adds for new universe, which is but
I remember the universe.
Is that Secret Wars? Isn't it part of it? Isn't it?
I'm sorry.
Secret Wars?
No, it didn't have to do with Secret Wars.
Oh, interesting.
It was a Jim Shooter project where he wanted to just start a separate universe with new. Continuity and everything.
Yeah. And the last page was interesting to say about how one of his childhood friends, not friends or kids, who were in the Hell's Kitchen while our Matt Murdock was growing up, he met him again, and he was apologizing him for bullying him. And his Matt Murdock was talking to Karen, saying how insignificant it felt after his apology, kind of thing. So it was interesting, but it's one-off storyline as well. So 235, Daredevil, Mr. Hyde, very good. I mean, as I say, very interesting in nothing overcomplicated storyline, but I really enjoyed it. It's fun. You just want to read some Daredevil. Great to just catch on one. There's a number one I'll talk about later, which I found it interesting as well. So.
And it feels like modern Marvel wouldn't focus on a minor character like Mr. Hyde, but it's interesting when they do. I like when they do that kind of thing.
Yeah, because they keep on reappearing, because at the end of the day, they still share in the same universe, and then they come in Hell's Kitchen, and Daredevil say, "Hi, it's me. I'm still here," kind of thing. In a way, which is another issue I read was interesting, how what the bad guy was calling Daredevil, and he got really pissed off. So
I'm starting to get weirded out. Sorry. I keep getting distracted by this camera following.
It's watching you.
I'm not sure. Terrence, you know what this is? Manson Press? Is that something?
Mansion Press, yeah. Mansion Press was the Josh Simmons, the Dream of the Bat, the Batman.
Oh, that Bat book. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you did. He got shipping email. Well, there you go. That's good news.
Oh, because you got it way before he did. Which
I got it way before him. Yeah, they saw there was a very important shipment to Winnipeg, and they said, "Screw this guy." Yeah. Screw Las Vegas. We're going.
They
Winnipeg
know who
first.
really counts.
That's right.
So I thought I would compare two comics that kind of felt similar to me in a way.
Ooh.
Oh no! Don't spoil Kaya for me. Oh.
Wes Craig. Oh, nice.
Well,
I'm waiting for it.
There's not a lot to spoil about Kaya.
Huh?
The plot is written on the cover, but I won't read that if you want. It's very basic. So I'm not saying Wes Craig is a bad writer, but what he's chosen to do, it doesn't interest me a lot.
Oh,
it's like a children's fantasy. I can see this being a successful young adult graphic novel that that Lillian might like or something.
Is this his first writing?
To my knowledge,
I think.
And he has one of the best new colorists, Jason Wordy, on it too. So I was really excited, and it just didn't grab me. Maybe I should give it another issue. Maybe there'll be something more to it.
It looks fantastic.
I won't say a lot since Rasa will want to read it anyway. And your mileage, there's nothing bad about it. It just didn't grab me, and it just felt extremely familiar from kids' stories.
Okay.
Like typical characters you might find in a kid's story, typical kind of fantasy novel kind of situation. Now that said, I was really looking forward to Kaya. But before that, I read Briar, which I had no previous reason. I wasn't super excited about it because it was a retelling of the Sleeping Beauty story. The one reason that I wanted to just take a look is it was written by Christopher Cantwell, who did some really good work at Dark Horse. He did the one about the woman who was flying. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. And he did the one about the Walmart, like evil Walmart grocery store. Again, I can't remember the titles of those. But then he went to Marvel and wrote stuff that wasn't of much interest. But in Briar, first of all, I was captivated by the art and the color. The colorist is Mateus Lopez, who I've seen do really good work on, like he did did coloring in that Supergirl comic. I don't know if you guys read that one, but anyway, the Supergirl comic by Tom King. So this departs very rapidly from the Sleeping Beauty story. Basically, no one woke her up. And then some burglar comes along and wakes her up with a kiss.
Ew, she's like a corpse almost.
She's like a corpse almost. And she wakes up and she's really thirsty. She's all dried out. But essentially, she discovers the world has totally gone to shit. Totally gone to crap. And did you guys ever read The God Damned?
Yes.
Yep. Oh yeah.
The world she's in reminds me of The God Damned. No one has any morals.
Nice.
And it's just a brutal, horrible world that she now has to survive in. And this was a very oversized issue for the normal price. It probably was 30 or more pages.
Right.
And so I don't know if they probably won't all be like that. But it felt very meaty. We really got a sense of this world. And she gets captured by slavers who are gonna, sell her into prostitution or worse. But then a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but just to give you a sense of the brutality of the world, the slave caravan gets attacked by cannibals. And
of course,
as things go. And things just go from bad to worse. And it could just, this was a really well done issue. I suppose this just could be a series of horrors, but I have kind of high hopes that Christopher Cantwell has something interesting to do with it.
Right.
So anyway, I really enjoyed that. Now, as I talk about it, I realize, if you just go from horror to horror, you may not, it may not go anywhere, but hopefully it does. So I'm for the moment, I'm into Briar. I may or may not, probably depending on the week, pick up another copy of Kaya. The art is really cool.
Art is beautiful,
but
because
it's just drawing fantasy characters in a sense. It's not as challenging, I feel, as the other stuff I've seen him do when Rick Remender was writing it and making him draw difficult things.
I think why the first thing I wanted about Kaya first thing is because I'm such a fan of his art. So I just want to see what he's up to doing his own stuff, and it's not really easy to do by himself. Just go off after working with Rick Remender for that many years. And it hopefully it blossoms, because you never know with issue once, it never pans out for some people.
Yeah.
But it's sold out. It's going into second printing already.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool. That's good news.
Thing. So it's for him just to get that go ahead. It's always nice to see. So it seems to be somebody who's like, fantasy is easy to read and it's easy actually quite to grab onto, especially if it's in the monthly series. But
they say rated teen. I mean, I guess they never rate anything lower than teen because they're probably afraid people won't read it. But I mean,
I'm sure after doing
it's so beautiful. I would hope it would find a big audience amongst younger readers.
Yeah, but I just wanted to sample it as well, because I don't, never know if I'm going to continue picking it up, because I do enjoy reading it in, Daily Class I was doing in floppies. Let's see if it is going to capture me and continuously going. But I want him the best to do whatever he can, because the artist itself is just somebody to look forward to doing whatever he can. And I bet he's going to probably do some crazy shit as well, because knowing how he started with Deadly Class, he just blossomed even furthermore. So he's doing stuff.
That's a good point, and I probably should give it another issue or two. And I'm all for writers. I mean, artists, really good artists like this, to try doing their own writing, and it's not like it's bad at all. And so maybe he'll do this, and then he'll write something else. You have to explore and try different things as a writer. I think the thing is, when you've worked with Rick Remender, who's had years of experience kind of pushing his writing right up to the edge, then this seems very safe so far and not anywhere near the edge.
Well, that's the thing. I imagine the market this day to be standing out. I mean, his art is probably the foremost what people will look forward to getting it, and people will be curious to see if he has writing things. But it's not very easy to get to that level, because there's so much competition and there's so much more there is to choose from. So I'm really hoping the best for him, so just to go forward with this.
Celia, I think you'll like Briar, but again, it's only one issue. I think it's not appropriate for kids, even though it has the nice illustration and stuff, because there's a lot of violence and threats of a lifetime of being sold into being a sex slave, basically, although it's not shown or anything. Anyway, it's another thing in my head. One of the easier things or one of the things that seems easier to write is a young adult fantasy, and so maybe that's a way to warm up as a writer or something.
Yeah, maybe. Cool.
Oh, good. It'll be for you.
Both of those look good. Yeah.
Okay. People got more stuff?
Yeah, sure. I got something else.
Okay.
The final book from the library. I kind of wish I wouldn't have decided to read this last night at like 11 p.m. It was pretty heavy reading, and it kind of turned into heavy reading. So it's not like there was like cues early on where I could go, okay, I'll come back to this tomorrow.
Right.
I was fully invested in it.
They suck you in, and then
so it's called The Stranger. So I'm guessing you or Gore Vidal, Damien. It's based on a novel by a writer, Albert Camus, Camus.
Pronounced Camus.
Okay.
And he's one of the most famous French writers of the 20th century.
There you go. Yeah.
He was one of the existentialists.
That's exactly the thing. So it was existentialist kind of horror in a way. Absolutely. But I guess when I was reading a bit online about him, his thing was his thing was that he wanted to, his drive, I guess, for this one was more absurdist. And I guess from what I've read, he was kind of almost insulted by this existentialist kind of tag that he got hit with.
Label, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and again, like, this is very, very rudimentary reading, so don't take my.
He has read the novel which he loves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it started out really kind of odd. The writing was very stilted, but it made sense when I got through it. Again, it's this character who just doesn't seem to have any emotional ties to anything, doesn't seem to have any sort of like, yeah, whatever you want to do. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, if you want to get married, I guess I'll do it. Do I love you? Nah, not really. But it's heavy. Like, when it gets into it, so this main character kind of floats through. It's almost like this idea of like a Hitchcock character that just kind of gets taken through this horrific story that they don't seem to have any kind of tie to. Wow, everybody knows this one. So again, I'm out to lunch on this one.
It's a blind spot in the Canadian educational system.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So it really, he kind of gets involved with these characters, and he gets involved with this kind of stuff that's going on. I don't want to spoil too much of it, even though it sounds like 90% of you know it. He gets involved in this kind of crime. And the last half of the book is when it gets really kind of, well, not the last half, maybe the last third, it gets really kind of bleak. And I mean, I have my own existentialist fears that kind of ruminate in my head, especially late at night. So sitting here reading this, it really kind of put me in a bit of a place where, like, okay, I think I just got to go to bed after reading that one. I should just get the hell out of here. It's some bleak stuff near the end. I found it interesting and intriguing for sure, but I also found it very difficult. Very nice, Scotch. Yes, very nice. Jesus. I found it engaging. Like, it was interesting, and to kind of hearing a character speak like this in this book, especially when he's met by all of these religious figures, and kind of the absurdity of the trial itself, like that absurdist slant. When he's on trial for this crime, people point to the fact that when he went to his mother's funeral, he didn't cry. And they're pointing at all of these things, like these kind of absurd things that he almost is on trial for. It becomes this, you could take me off of full screen. I won't do any more showing of it. Sorry. But it becomes this kind of trial of, am I being tried for the crime, or am I being tried for the fact that I'm not kind of participating in kind of what everybody else is deeming the social norms, right? So it became this really absurd and a mockery to some degree. And, you know, like that all of that stuff was engaging. But again, for T. Fuller's Mind at 11 p.m. at night, it's not, it kind of like, you start reading things into it maybe a little more as a human being, and there's this kind of tie to it that was very uncomfortable. So, I mean, I would recommend it because it was really great. But man, it was heavy. I guess there was some movies that were made based on it too. Vittorio, I can't remember his first name, an Italian director. There was a movie made that was based on this short story as well too. So I'm very curious to read the short story. Absolutely. But yeah, maybe when it's full daylight and I'm in a really kind of positive mood, maybe, you know what I mean, where I can attack it mentally a little better. Yeah.
It's funny how the timing of your reading anything, no matter what you read, it's comic book or literature, whatever, is the time how your mind is working as well. It's interesting.
Hello, Comic Asleep, by the way.
Hello.
Long-time YouTube pal. Haven't seen him in a while. It's good to have you here. And he says there's a Viggo Mortensen reading of a speech that there was a time, I think, when Albert Camus was like one of the biggest writers in the world.
I see. Yeah.
Maybe in the 50s or, you know,
right.
It's quite a long time ago. So still a lot of people end up reading that novel or some other novel if it's in school. Or if you take get into a more advanced French class, they often have you read Camus there.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're back to Rasa if you have more.
To split my Daredevil, I need some Fantastic Four in my life.
Yeah.
It seems to be the annual number 17. The cover is horrible. First of all, let me say this way, for an annual, it looks a little bit.
That is bad.
Could be better. The whole dollar as well, the price tag. But it's it felt quite a reading, but it was fun. So it starts. Once again, it starts with legacy, and there's this girl in the car, and it looks not dressed really, and she's
Is
stuck.
it John Byrne?
Yes, John Byrne, old word pictures. Colorist is Glenys Wein. So I guess Len Wein's wife, maybe?
Yes. She was. She did a lot of coloring.
Yeah. So Jim Shooter's the editor in chief. Blah 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 blah. So we meet this girl. And she's stuck in the middle of nowhere. Her car, this mini car, whatever it's called, I don't know. Oh, it's MG, very famous English. Well, even I live next to. I used to live in the town where MG actually came from. Just
cool.
and then she's so middle of nowhere. She's very pissed off because she just wants to get to. She's a band member. She's just the one to get in destinations. And then she gets into, so she sees this guy passing by the truck, and she's like waves. She's wearing barely nothing. Of course, she was thinking she's gonna get spotted, but the guy just passes through her, and she gets really pissed off. So she went through the fields for Wonder, and I was like, okay, "This is Fantastic Four. Come on, where are they?" And they didn't appear for a while, so I was like thinking, "What is going on here?" Anyway, so she wanders through the field, and she sees this major fence, and she's like, okay, that's a bit weird, but nobody's looking, so I'm gonna go through it, because she wants to get into the town, get her car fixed, and she gets to sing a song and gets in the band. And then after getting through this fence, she goes through the field where is this growing really weird things she's thinking of. And then she says, there's this maybe she's feeling a little bit thirsty. She goes through, and there's this milk pouring through. She smells it. It's like, ew! I have a dairy allergy, so she couldn't understand what the hell irrigations with milk in the field of this weird town she stopped by. And apparently the people who lives in this little town don't really want to know why she's there and the intruder, and everybody's in heightened alert. All feel really weird as to what maybe small villages do. But it's an extra weirdness coming through. And it's just like, I was thinking, okay, people, where's the Fantastic Four? Maybe they printed something wrong. But long story short, apparently she's a friend of John Flash, the Human Torch.
Mm-hmm.
Or a friend of the friend, like Human Torch. It's a girl, like all the girls loves him, so kind of thing. It's well aware. And one of the most bizarre thing, so you see this panel here where the child's observing her walking past in the town, and then the child decides to turn into the dog, and like, okay, this is turning into maybe a little bit of a uncomfortable horror.
Yeah.
And it's really went into this bizarre mode where the kind of horror themed. The girl gets into the village where she's not supposed to be. She gets the car damaged, not supposed to be there. People they really don't want her. She goes into a cafe to eat for something, and it's like, can I have a hamburger? And they're just like, we don't have hamburgers, but it's on the menu. It's outdated. No, we're not doing that anymore. And so, do you have eggs? And she eats eggs, and she's really weirded out by this. And then she stays in this hotel. Where the sheriff, I guess, of the town told her to just stay there, and she's starting to feel sick. So apparently her dairy problem is just starting to flare up, and she starts not feeling well. Everybody's really pissing her off, making excuses, not letting basically her go out of this town. They don't even want to fix her car, so she basically starts calling her friend. She calls the friend, and she wanted to tell the town's name, and the phone cuts off, and she panics. She just starts to go really crazy. And then we find out that friend is, and then she's basically, how we find out what it's all about and who she is. She finds this booth again. She's trying to escape. She telephones it, and it's like almost to the scary point. She goes into this phone booth and talks to operator. Apparently, Fantastic Four has a secretary, who takes the phone calls if it's an emergency, which I didn't know.
That's news to me.
Yeah, so apparently she works there full time, according to this one. She takes a phone call and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, nobody's here basically at the right time." And she's like, "Oh my God, help me. I need to talk to somebody, Fantastic Four." And she disappears from the booth. And there's this gnarly leaves comes out. And then there you go. That's when halfway almost through the book, you see the Human Torch flying through randomly, having fun. He's really happy. There's a story about the Fantastic Four previously, which I read, that they want to move out because Mrs. Fantastic is pregnant again. They wanted to be safe for the kids and everything, but and then Fantastic Four gets that phone call or message kind of thing. Apparently, secretary just left them behind, and they go to investigate how Fantastic Four, like, we know she's my friend, please help her, kind of is kind of weighed out. And we find out, spoiler alert, that the town where they going to see them, this is like old school tech to find out GPS locations where the phone call came from. The town where they needed to be, it was where the leftover scrolls were left behind. And that uncovers. So all this town, apparently, because what happened in previous, like long ago, or where they got encountered with scrolls, there was leftover scrolls left behind. So we decided to leave them. And
apparently FF #2, Fantastic Four #2, according to Paulo.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So anyway, so they make them, they turn them into cows.
Yes, I remember that.
And they turn into cows, and they erase the memory, so they can't turn back.
Yes.
Apparently, according to this theory of John Burns of this issue, the cows lactated.
So everyone was drinking Skrull milk?
Yes.
Oh my God, are
is
you
hilarious.
kidding me? That's madness.
That is
Wait.
John Byrne is a brilliant madman.
They turn into these beasts. They even create a factory in that little in that little village. Where their milk is being basically, it regenerates itself. So that's the whole town was basically feeding itself by that, and they completely turn bonkers mad. So to Reed Ridger's geniuses, he had this canister where he was fighting the scrolls beforehand. So he basically filled the whole town with that and turned them back into a. There's the panel where they got turned back into humans. So yeah, it's such a bizarre way of turning into events. I was like, what the hell is going on here? But honestly, it's fantastic because you don't expect
it's a great Halloween issue.
Yeah, and you don't expect this kind of turn of events. Another thing is everything seems too happy, but I think John Byrne left it open. Apparently, they're saying there's nothing left over, but apparently Camp Meridio, a U.S. Army depot, has milk coming to them. So, maybe there's going to be an issue coming in. So
classic horror movie ending too.
Yeah.
So Fantastic Four Annual 70, absolutely bonkers mad, but it's fantastic. I was reading that, girl, I was like, what the hell? Come on, I need Fantastic Four into this. Story unravels because I really like.
I think I've passed that book up in back issue bins just because I didn't like the cover.
Yeah, this cover is absolutely appalling.
I've definitely seen the cover as well in like dollar bins.
Yeah, honestly, if you get hold of this or whatever cheapishly you can, it's fantastic. It's just the way it's, it's simple writing style at the beginning. There's quite a lot of reading too, but the way he unravels it, and then you can't have like dairy to eat, and the girl has dairy problems, so that's why she's kind of convoluted. But the way they found her as well, the way they were because the girl got captured, yes, and she got and the way what they were doing, that they were feeding her milk on purpose in this hotel room. I can't find it now, the panel, and then she's dairy, like she can't. Oh yeah. And Johnny says, while this panel is here, Johnny says, "Why it stinks in here? I can't." He's like, milk everywhere, but like in the wrong way possible, and you're like, what? kind of thing.
Disgusting.
It's just really good setup, like unexpectedly fantastic little read out of nowhere, which is appallingly done cover. Do you know what I mean? It really doesn't do justice. It's a little gem, honestly, behind the cover. I was reading it, I was like, I'm not gonna put it down. This is crazy ridiculous. And and you have your those little conversations where Sue Richards is appears out of nowhere, but Reed Richards somehow feels her and she's like, oh yes, Sue, have you? And she's not supposed to be visible, and she's like, oh Sue, did you find something? And she just reappears, like a typical moment. It was fantastic little read. Highly recommend anybody to hold this. Really free, especially lactating milks, scrolls.
Yeah. Milk and a scroll.
Because
those scrolls were presented as male.
Yeah. It's a little known category on Pornhub, scroll milking.
Because he tried to explain to it what really happened in that time. The Skrulls wanted to capture the Earth. They found them, they defeated them, but those 3 of them were somehow left behind. So we had to do something to them. So we decided to erase their memory while they're turning into.
That did always seem like one of the cruelest punishments to bad guys.
Yeah.
And then so because
that went back to Fantastic Four #2 when there basically was no Marvel universe then. And
right.
Yeah. So imagine how everything. But John Byrne seems to be the one thing people are saying about him. But what I really like about reading more and more of his stuff is that he really likes the history behind what happened. So he always takes to basically put that. And this little gems like that, where you've like a long time ago, some scrolls turned into cows, but present this one. It's a story he just came up with. So yeah, fantastic. For annual, amazing.
Yeah.
You keep finding these gems where people don't realize they're there. That's
cool.
I
just picked up. I don't know. I think it was so cheap that I had to get it. It's like fantastic. I know why. I don't really get why the annuals are there in first place, because now I don't even get it annuals as well. But when you those cheap bins, it's just okay. Just to make round your sum up. I bet that's why I picked this up. But then here you go. It's a gem. Proper good read of Fantastic Four. Loved it.
Very cool. Well, I'll have to remember that next time I'm looking through the
annual
cheap bins.
Yeah, 17.
I found this on a table at some store, Remender or something, and it's what's his name? The guy who did Mouse and his wife.
Oh yeah, Spiegelman.
This publishing thing called Toon Graphics.
Right. Francois Moulet.
Moulet, exactly. Yes, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, this is. I didn't know what this was. I thought it was going to be like a young adult book based on, because they Toon Graphics was books for kids. It's going to be hard to see.
Wow.
But what this is there was a tribute book to Little Nemo that was ginormous, and I've seen it in stores, and it was like $200 or something, and I was like, oh, I'd like it, but I don't even know what's inside of it. So this is excerpts from that book, selections from that book, published like this, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's an easier size to read.
Yeah.
And unlike the original Little Nemo, the type isn't small enough that you have to have it giant.
Mm-hmm.
But so every page is by a different artist. This page is by Roger Langridge.
Come on.
By Peter and Maria Hui. I don't really know who they are, but and almost every one of these is really good. And it made me realize as simple as Little Nemo is, with he's in the dreamland, something bizarre happens, and then the last panel he falls out of bed, right? Every time. This allowed all these really creative people to just, for one page, do something really cool. This is Carla Speed McNeil, Cliff Chang.
Get out of here.
Every, and since they only had to do one page, they just tried to do their best work.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's Xander Cannon with his kaiju Obsession.
And we know that.
And so now I guess if I can find an affordable copy of the original book, I'd be very tempted.
With the giant one, I remember.
It's so huge, though. I wish there was a book just the size of this double.
Yeah.
A regular. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Craig Thompson did a really. I don't normally see Craig Thompson in color. I don't think. But this looks really nice.
Very good.
So anyway, if you stumble across this book, it's not perfect because of the way it's published, but still, it's a nice, inexpensive way to see a lot of beautiful art. This is David Mack. I don't know who Cole Closser is, but this is pretty nice. Sorry, what were you going to say, Rasa?
The original, like the one you said we originally published, the giant one, is giant. It's
right. I think it's bigger than an artist edition or something.
Yeah, it was so big, and I wanted. There was the shopper who had it, and I always wanted to go and like, but I just couldn't. First I couldn't pick it up. I just didn't want to ask for anybody's help because I'd because you never know what you're gonna do because giant book. There was no tables as well. That's the thing. It looks so beautiful in it. Like as the product itself was fantastically done as well.
Yeah, so I wish they just published another edition of it, but maybe in just sort of the deluxe size or something rather than the Godzilla size. This is Jeremy Bastian, the guy who does Cursed Pirate Girl. It's really nice.
And see his style straight.
David Peterson, he's the mouse guard guy. He actually stuck the mice in there. Janie Tanner. So some of these people are just not familiar to me, but Nick Polwicki, and that's interesting to me because I mostly see him in those Warrant comics, the ones that imitate Warren comics, but here he does a different style. David Plankett. Anyway, this book is really cool.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's a pity. Why they print it like that? Like, you mean just a little bit bigger? I mean, maybe they didn't think the market is there?
Well, because this whole series was marketed, I think, to libraries for their kids section. And so they just have a kind of a standard size that they were selling, I think.
See.
Let's see.
Can you tell me again what's the name of this book particularly?
This one is called Big New Dreams.
Okay, Big New Dreams.
Yeah, not a great title either. But I don't think the title of the original book was something else. Where does it say?
I covered there.
Somewhere they admit that they're drawing on another book, but I guess it doesn't say. Easily to find.
Oh, it's so cheap. Okay, cool. I might get it then.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was Remendered or something. Box Brown. I hear a lot of people say that name, and I'm not quite sure what he normally does.
He did Andre the Giant book. He did.
That guy. Yeah.
Yeah. A bunch of stuff. He's doing a strip now on his Instagram as well.
Oh, is he?
This is R. Sequoia, who does those. He did like the. He did the one that was the American Constitution as a comic and. Shakespeare as a comics and things like that. Hans Rickert, I don't know who this is, but I really liked this one. Anyway, Mark Hempel. Here's a few one-pagers. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's a cool book.
That's great. That's
Little
really
Nemo
great.
Keeps popping up, right? He was in that H.P. Lovecraft comic I had last month. And then there was that little Nemo thing in the
Miracle Man. Yeah.
So if you wanted the original work because it was originally published newspaper, yes?
Yeah, and it was published when newspapers were huge.
Yeah. So
and there's a lot of reprints of them, but it's really hard to read the text.
So is this the way you can get it, like those collected?
This
is show us the inside a little bit.
These are the Fantagraphics versions.
So it's probably out of print.
I have ordered. There's
one per page.
And that's probably a third of the original size or something.
And there's a regular comic.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's a good size. and they're good slim volumes too. I've managed to grab 4 of them from one of the local guys here, and they're beautiful, and they do a really nice job on them too, like beautiful covers and everything, and just really well presented. So
I wouldn't be surprised if your library had some editions. A lot of different publishers have put out stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have.
And Taschen is about to put out a big hardback.
Oh, is that true? Hey, oh yeah.
And I pre-ordered it. I'm not quite sure what the size is.
Right.
Is that the publisher? Because I heard him like the Fall of Comics talking about it. Is that like a different publisher again?
Yeah, Taschen does a lot of really great stuff. They kind of dip their fingers in all sorts of kind of history
very
with,
high-end hardbacks, usually oversized.
And they do a really nice job.
Do they have a website, I presume, as well? Yeah.
They should. Yeah, I think it's TASCEN. Sorry, TASCHEN, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. That's the right spelling. And they do have a website, and they had a sale, which is I pre-ordered the Little Nemo thing from them during their sale. So every once in a while they have sales that are. I think they're a European company, German, I think. So they have sales in Europe that sound even like. Earl Grey has gotten some really fantastic deals from their sales.
I know the name, but you go think about it, but then you forget about it.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, Taschen book doesn't break your back when you.
Yeah, but so I think for Little Nemo, I would start with your library and just see what they've got.
Oh, I definitely. I just need to stupidly remember that stuff because I always see it and I love looking at that stuff because it's just so dreamy, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the one of the most influential American comics of all time. It's amazing what he was doing, back way back then.
Yeah, totally.
I still would like to see that or in a newspaper because my friend. Co-worker, she used to collect newspapers and she had English version newspaper, and I put it out the table, like dining table. You basically have to open it, dining table,
right?
Yeah. And there's this
how did people read them back then?
That little text everywhere. It's like and it's like magnifying glass. The first thing you want. But it's giant, even in that time, like in English versions as well, because like you say. It's like one I've seen, I think the oldest one she had, and she's like, I didn't open, she opened for me. Crazy newspaper collector anyway. 1915.
Wow.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's the earliest one that she had.
Yeah. And she was so happy about it. She's like, oh, you don't, like, I'm not in that realm of collecting. So if you knew, what you're looking at. Okay. I'm just like,
yeah.
It must be scary to even handle it because it's so old and crumbly.
Itself felt like like your newspaper from late, like if you have golden age, like kind of British. That one is even more. It feels like you turn in something like gonna happen. Anyway, wait.
Yeah, I have some 1940s pulps, and they're so crumbly. I'm afraid to open them up, but I think I'm going to do it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I get them because I want to look inside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a whole lot more time. If you guys want to do a lightning round, or if you run out of.
Now let's I can do a lightning round with these ones.
Okay. Show us a few more.
So this was thanks to Colin loading the camera. He had a haul video recently, and one of the books that he got in that was this like Heyman Comics from this company called Glorp is what they're called. So I went to their website and they had a 3-pack available of 3 of their comics. I ended up getting some Halloween stickers. They had some cards, some trading cards and wax packs. What else did we get from them? I got a boatload of stuff from them. And they are an absolute treat. They're a hell of a lot of fun. This was probably one of my favorites out of them. Twin Cities Freakouts. So there's a real kind of, right off the bat, it's this artist doing his version of a classic kind of Robert Crumb piece. And the artist's name is McGinty. What's his first name?
And these are contemporary? They've been published recently?
These are brand new. but I mean, they pretend these are from like 1971 and that sort of thing, but these are all brand new books, like 2021, 2022, but they have this real aesthetic. They sell a ton of t-shirts. Their whole thing is buy a piece of gum, get a free t-shirt. But I mean, the gum is like $28. So you get, but it's this real classic kind of design of, Big Daddy Roth and all of these kind of t-shirts you would see in comics. It is such a fun book. There's kind of Basil Wolverton kind of references in here too. Like, this is incredible Wolverton stuff. But it's an absolute treat, like so much fun, so ridiculous. This main character in this one, he's always getting high at work, so there's a real underground comics vibe to it. And then they just have some fun with the wild and crazy art. So each one is kind of an anthology. So this second story was kind of a classic horror story by a guy named S. Wipes, which I thought was a pretty clever name there.
I love the color there too.
Yeah, the color is so much fun. So they're exactly what it is. This isn't like, changing the world. This is an absolute blast. And even the trading cards themselves.
What's the name of the company again?
It's called Glorp, Glorp. And these are the cards that they have, crazy cards in the wax packs. But they do kind of the same thing that sort of parodies. So they have parodies of Mars Attacks cards, parodies of Garbage Pail Kids cards. They've got some old kind of Valentine's Day cards, and they've all got kind of on the backs, so the Valentine's Day cards, and they've got some strips on the backs of some of them. Really amazing stuff. The site is so much fun. I would actually encourage everybody to check them out. Yeah, there you go. Glorp Gum.
Glorp
and just have a look.
That's hard to say.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that.
And
I'll probably get a couple t-shirts.
Idea. You can buy the It Comics single issue as well too, but the 3-pack was a good idea. And it seems like once they sell out, because they had a 3-pack for a series of comics that don't exist anymore on their website.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
They seem like a company where once they've sold out, that's it. It's out of print. They just kind of move on to the next thing. But they've got a ton of stuff on that website.
Yeah, wow.
And that's one of the Halloween stickers that got stuck on the old water bottle there. So 2 giant sheets that me and my daughter shared. She took some, I took some. Nice. And great stuff.
Okay, cool. The Taschen New Little Nemo, the double extra large one edition is already sold out.
I'm glad I pre-ordered it then. I guess we'll see.
And then the only thing I want to say, it's the issue I was reading about Daredevil, the one, the last one I was reading. The Claw came back. So the villain of Black Panther decided to go.
Oh, right.
Hell's Kitchen and decided to come and taunt Daredevil. And then his ghost says, I picked you because I need a victory, but I'm glad you put a credible response. You are a small time Daredevil, not in a league of Doctor Doom or a cursed Fantastic Four. And then Daredevil was like, what in the blazes? What do you mean small time? Really pissed off with him.
Great color on that background there.
Yeah, this one is John Harkness is a story. I don't know who he is, but Louis Williams is on the pencils.
I haven't heard of either of them.
Yeah, but anyway, it's really nice, like really good colors for the age of the comic.
Yeah, really good.
And of course, Daredevil was way too clever because he has abilities and the sound, and he managed to find the frequency exactly where the Claw's frequency was, and eliminated him in a way because he used the right moments. And just little, like Marvel comic books, they found all these little gadgets exactly where they need to be, and they direct the evil enemies and they defeat them. But anyway, it was so fantastic how one villain got pissed, Matt Murdock got so pissed off with. It's like, how dare you call him here all the time? You're not in the league. But yeah, it was interesting because the Black Widow appeared in here because apparently this congresswoman, he wanted to employ Black Widow and another superhero to be a hero like a face for the ads where saying that drugs are bad for you, kind of thing. So Black Widow is like comes to Daredevil to ask him about it, and he's like, "Nope, I don't want to do it." And it's like, "Why do you mean you want to get your, like you're a superhero at the end of the day? You need to get your name back to where it used to be, because this once again it's still aftermath of the Kingpin and dealing with them,
right,
and tarnishing his reputation into complete madness because he went crazy when the Kingpin got." Whatever he wanted to for Daredevil, basically to lowest lows, and he was basically going a little bit like an evil Daredevil to the way the mask is portrayed. Anyway, so yeah, we had this conversation, and I'm never read because I never been able to collect due to movies and stuff. The whole romance thing because they're mentioning in here, and from issue 82 I think to onwards to like almost issue 100 something.
Yeah, it was Daredevil and Black Widow. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were having a relationship, and she's like, "I'm not gonna," like they still like having because Karen Page is in his life once again, and she just kind of merely like talking, like arguing with each other, saying, I'm not your lover or anything, but you want maybe to get your reputation back, but then Daredevil really doesn't like it because he thinks that he doesn't want to be an attorney apparently here because of whatever happens to him. He wanted to be. He's now a cook. Flips burgers. Did you know that?
I'd forgotten. I'd read those issues, but I'd totally forgotten that.
Yeah, he's really happy to flip burgers for people because he likes eating them. That's what his excuse is. I was laughing.
I wonder if they were Skrull burgers.
You never know. Yep. 237 is the issue, so yeah, very good. Absolutely spot on. It's still like no matter which way I get hold of the Daredevil from my collections, or at least what I have, it's always a fun read. And this kind of moments where because I do like Black Widow because of her, never know what they will take her, and that time with him and her, I would like to read, but I've never been able to collect because they were pricier. Because movies came out, Black Widow came out, and it's just like they upped the price to And there's first appearances or something in the Daredevils, and there were some things happening. So,
and they're all those. From what I remember, I think they're all those kind of classic picture frame covers too. They're great. They're really nice looking.
And then you had him on one side and her on the other side on the covers also.
Yeah,
that was interesting. Okay, that's
well. I'll just do kind of a speed round of a few sort of Halloweenish comics that I've read. There was Ice Cream. My camera has misinterpreted. I can predict some problems because someone said in the comments that this camera runs by hand signals. And I think I gave a hand signal by accident a while ago, and it was shooting down at my desk. And the only way I could figure out what to do was to unplug it and replug it back in. But anyway, excellent issue of Ice Cream Man. But it feels like Ice Cream Man is segueing into almost entirely just normal life horrors without the supernatural really in it. So this was about a drug rehab, being in a drug rehab, and there really wasn't anything else to it than that. I mean, it was extremely good, but there was no overlay of supernatural or anything.
I got one too. I wonder if you can disable it.
I'm sure I can. I have to download some software that goes with it. Then I can have minute control over it.
Right.
But like I said, I bought it while I was sick, and I never really used it. It was just like consolation prize for feeling sick.
Yeah.
Lonesome Hunter's first arc finished up.
Hey.
And by the end, I really dug this, and I hope there's going to be more. I'd recommend it to people in a trade. I know they're just going to do a 4-issue trade, which kind of sucks, but I think that will be a good read. Maybe the library will get it.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be more because I'd like to explore a little more of this world. The evil crows who take over human bodies was a really cool concept.
It's those first three I've been enjoying. I missed that one. That wasn't on my it wasn't on my pull list when I went, so they must have missed it. They missed that and Shaolin Cowboy again. So
Shaolin Cowboy. Yeah, that's tragic. Well, anyway, really good and less good, but I still enjoy the art of Frankenrocker and the Jailbait Punks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really dumb story, but really fun, high energy, sort of pseudo underground artwork.
The art is so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's too expensive too. I think it's a it's a $5 book. It's on really nice paper and everything, but there's in terms of the writing, it's so slight. But if you can find these later in the bargain bins, or if it shows up in a cheaper trade, it's kind of, and if this art appeals to you, it's just kind of fun to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Leonid the Vampire. I don't know how you pronounce vampire when it has that Y there. It's a new book from Mike Mignola. He's writing.
Oh, wow.
Someone named Rochelle Aragono is the artist. And of course, Dave Stewart is on the colors. And this says it's a one-shot, but it's not really. It's more like the first chapter in something. I mean, you do sort of feel like you got a bit of a story, but you definitely also need to find out more. So I assume that means they're just going to put out one-shots when they're ready to do more. And it's kind of a more whimsical vampire story, but the vampires are still evil, and it's still kind of horrific what they do to the townsfolk. But it's this little girl vampire who I think works for some more powerful forces at the end. So anyway, this is a fun thing to keep an eye out for, maybe when it gets a trade, or if you can get a cheaper copy. It was only $4, but anyway, I enjoyed that, but kind of light fun.
Just to go back quickly to were you also reading Tales from Harrow County, Damien?
Yeah.
I was.
Okay. Because
I don't think they're nearly as good as
today.
I'm sorry?
I found the first 3 issues in a $1 bin today, so I grabbed them, but I can't remember. I think that was one that you weren't necessarily as excited about.
I wasn't too excited, and I think there were 3 volumes.
Okay.
So that when you're looking in the $1 bin, you might look close, because they probably don't say on the cover.
No, definitely doesn't.
But probably in the indicia, it'll say volume 1, volume 2, or volume 3.
Okay.
So you may or may not have issues in a row there.
Well, let's hope. Fingers crossed.
That's a nasty trick that Dark Horse has been doing. You know, like with Norse mythology.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 number 1s of each of Norse, and it doesn't say on the cover.
Yeah.
You know that it's Norse mythology 3 or Norse mythology 4.
Right.
But yeah, in the $1 bin, I think it's worth it. But it's definitely it's what's the right word? It's watered down Harrow County or something.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Not as worth reading.
Right.
It's not bad or anything. But.
So that the Tyler Crook has just done his own thing. He's written it and drew it as well?
Yes, he wrote and drew. So another person, and I would say he's got some good ideas and stuff, and he needs to develop it more. Like, you know, some of the fun of these supernatural worlds is the sense of a larger picture to it all. He's just hinted at that a little bit. So it'd be nice to get more of that. And I hope he gets to continue. All these writers who are great artists who are now trying writing, they just need a little more practice, I think.
Right.
So hopefully he keeps going there.
Yeah, it was a fun one so far.
Makes me think of what's his name? The guy who did Orkstein, and he had that series going with Dark Horse,
Stoko.
which was quote done, but it was obviously only half the story. So I hope the rest of that's coming out.
Yeah, that Orphan and the 5 Beasts was that one.
Right.
Yeah.
He'd only fought 2 of the beasts so far, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys.
Dark Horse is just a little dishonest with their numbering, and
it's
But
frustrating.
they put out good books, but
they totally do. Yeah.
The best thing is if you go hunting for Dark Horse's back issues, always look inside a page. Always.
Yeah.
No, don't look
it can
at
be really a mess when you're looking at the back issues.
We done it with Hellboy and stuff. They were even like the volume 4 of something, and you're like, what? Where am I?
Yeah.
Right.
It's these silly games. They in the $1 bin today. They also had that Stargirl, STRGRL or whatever that I bought that I passed on to my daughter. They had issue number 2, but if you look, it's issue number 2 part 1, issue number 2, part 2. It's
geez.
What kind of bullshit are you playing? Just number it number 3, man, like 2 and 3. So it's a good thing I noticed that, because I picked up number 2 for her, but it was actually part 2. And then I looked back in the bin and found part 1, but I didn't notice it till when we were almost getting ready to leave. So it's, you know, it's ridiculous. And then with the variant covers on top of that, it's like, dude, you know, like, come on, give us a fighting chance here.
Yeah.
Talking about Little Nemo, my library have the new version of Eric Shanower and Gabriel Rodriguez, Little Nemo.
That was very good. That's a more traditional comic narrative set in the Little Nemo world.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, is it good to read?
Yeah, yeah. Oh. That came out in individual issues a long time ago, but I guess they finally put it out in a book form.
Yes, I need to write the actual creators, maybe name, and then it'll come out of the...
That Little Nemo, the one by Eric Shanower, might make a good bedtime read with your son.
Cool.
Depending on, you know, how patient he is, but it's a pretty good kids book, I think.
Let's talk patience.
Yeah, I don't know where you had mentioned reading things him at night when he was younger, just to get him to go to sleep.
No, he is very good with sleep bedtime stuff, but when he book stuff, the thing. My poor guy is actually sick, so it's like, it's horrible looking at him. He gets the, you know, recite like school stuff. The teacher is sick, so now he comes back on Friday all nice and dandy. Saturday comes in and he's like,
yeah,
those first few years of school are murder on the
dirty children.
No, they all get the bugs and germs, and I'm considering if I'm going to even take him to school, but they're quite strict with the school stuff. They don't care how sick the child is. Like, he has to be really, but he's like in the bed, he can't even move, so I'm not taking him. I mean, I'm not going to.
That is so foolish of them. I mean, they're getting everyone sick by not wanting people to stay home.
You really don't like if your kid's sick, you better fucking say some really good excuse, apparently. My other parents are telling me as well. It's like, I can't even think about not taking my child to school anymore. It's like, really?
What do they do to you? You don't bring him in. Fire you as a parent?
No, because the thing is, when he was going to preschool, every kid was like this, like spreading. It's like, why are they people taking them? Apparently, I guess that's the other thing.
Yeah,
but he can't even, like, today he was so bad that he can't even do anything himself. So honestly, he's not well. So I'm not taking him. I don't know what the hell they're gonna do to me, but I feel like a child. Honestly, when they speak to me, it's like, don't speak to me like that. I'm not a child. You know, I've been through this. It's not my turn. It's my son's turn.
If it was Kamala Harris, she'd want to put you in prison as a parent. The clip that's been floating around lately. Yeah.
Anyway, as I say, it's kind of interesting as a parent whose child just going to school, and in here, I'm just learning some things. You know, other parents are telling me some stuff I never kind of noticed. I was like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just being kind to me because I'm not.
Do you feel you get treated a little differently?
Sometimes, yeah. It's I'm used to already, so my brain doesn't register. But if I just think about it, just like step back a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly how you're talking to me, like, and stuff like that. But we have quite a few different varieties. Like, we have French, Romanian, so I'm Lithuanian, the mothers, as where I'm from. So there's a caliber of people, but yeah, it's still English education. So you have to get into that realm. And, anyway.
Yeah. Well, don't let the school push you around too much. That's what.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe.
I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna call
my kid. I'm keeping him home. Period.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'll be very serious about that stuff tomorrow. We'll see. Interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I did finally watch a few things. I don't normally watch TV, but I finally watched the Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I enjoyed that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I loved the Werewolf by Night movie, or whatever it is.
It was so much fun, that one.
Yeah. I'd like to see more like that.
Same with me. Yeah. I love that they really committed to the style. I love that it was like, let's just, if we're going to do this kind of classic monster-ish type of thing and black and white, like, they just committed. It was such a fun show. And I mean, you know, the creature design looked amazing too. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, and they managed to do a really great job with the Man Thing, which is not.
Yeah,
that would have been something I would have expected them to fall flat on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, so much fun, that one. Yeah. I finished She-Hulk as well, by the way, Rasa. We watched the last episode the other day.
Are you guys recommending that? I forget if
I think it's fun. It's honestly, when I first saw the trailers, I was not interested in it whatsoever. I think they really captured something pretty fun with that show. And that last episode was very clever. I thought it was very clever. You know, was it mind blowing? No, but it was pretty fun. They kept some of the tone from what I understand from those books. I've never read the books, but that breaking the fourth wall kind of stuff they were doing was kind of unique, and it was great seeing some cameos in there as well too. So yeah.
I have not seen the last episode because my Disney subscription has expired. It's like,
oh, boo!
Because I don't want to renew it because it's just so many things to pay for. So I have not watched the last episode, but there's Daredevil appearance. It's not a spoiler, but it's going to appear there. It's quite good. It's very laid back, Damon. So if you want to watch with, I mean, there's sexual things and stuff. I don't know if that part is good for teenagers yet. I mean,
kind of hinted. Yeah.
Parenting stuff, but it's really laid back show and it's fun. It's just it's nothing serious about it.
No, not at all. It's pretty silly, kind of fun. Yeah.
The actress she does a really good job. Just CG is visible. It's clunky. It's very clunky.
Yeah,
CG.
It really is. Yeah.
But there's moments, there's angles where they didn't really capture it well, but it's fun. I like that kind of part of this world. I don't want everything always serious. But apparently there's Kevin Feige and the director of the series. They were bashing. They almost quit because Kevin Feige wanted to ask her to do something she didn't want to.
Seriously.
Yeah, apparently they were.
Well, that makes the last episode even better than if that's the case. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I've not seen the last episode. Apparently, because of that last episode, it's like there was so much.
Come on, that's amazing. I love it.
And they were really not Kevin Feige wanted just to go in there and do whatever he wanted to do and to quit, but apparently she didn't. So.
Oh man, you've got to find that online, Rossi. You got to find that last episode and watch it then.
There's a friend who actually has Disney, so I'm trying to smooth the friend.
Piggyback on that account. Yeah.
It's just want a week, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just to see if I can just see that one because it's a bit annoying that I haven't. I missed on an hour apparently because when we were watching it, it's funny. So past 12 we were watching, and 12 just hit. Everything just. Oh. And it's like I was about to basically watch it and it was
done.
Yeah. Sorry, you have to pay for it.
The other nerdy thing I watched, not comic book related, but was Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, the animated show. That was way better than I imagined it would be. I really enjoyed that. My daughter and I watch it together.
There's new season coming out as well.
Sorry? New season? Oh, good. That's exciting.
So what channel is that on?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I think I actually paid for it on Amazon, rented it from them.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. It's absolutely, it has a younger, so your Lillian, if she likes anything spaces wise, so it's really good introduction to Star Trek, to what is all about.
Cool.
And of course, my favorite captain is there, so she rocks the world.
Right. At first, it almost seemed more like a Star Wars movie. And then you realize you're looking at the Star Trek universe from a different angle.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Yeah. And me and my daughter have been watching a lot of Voyager.
I love it.
Love it.
Because I love that series, and it has the woman captain, the strong, strong female character. So I thought it was a better way to dive into the Star Trek universe.
That and Deep Space Nine, I would argue to my blue in the face that those are such good Star Trek stuff. Yeah. Like Voyager is so great. Janeway is so fantastic. Great character, great actress, really, really good.
So she's in there as a CG. So she's like a robotic AI.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Yeah, Prodigy series. So she becomes like, you know, like those.
She's kind of like the Doctor in
Yeah,
Voyager.
yeah.
She's that. She's an AI
Amazing
recreation of her personality.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Really good. It's
Prodigy, hey?
Yeah, it flows really well, and it's so like it's just entertaining. It's honestly it and good.
It's probably on Paramount Plus, but I didn't want to add another channel, so I just paid whatever it was for the subscription.
To rent it or whatever. Yeah.
So, but it's really good for Star Trek fan. Is exactly what you. I was like, I always like to see everything, whatever comes out. I'm just, you know, I'm up to date now with everything. Whatever I in the 90s, I already caught up as well.
Right. Well, once I'm finished the 48 seasons of Antiques Roadshow or whatever it is, I'll dip into some of that other stuff.
Hello, Weird Science. That's a nice title for a channel.
Yeah.
Do you put out videos, Weird Science?
If you do, we're gonna watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We will. Yeah, 3 subscribers right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably head out. Thank you both for coming on, and maybe we'll get Matt back.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. So.
And if other regular viewers, if you want to contact us, because if you're interested in being in the show, we are open to that. We don't want total strangers, but if you're, someone we know from the comments on a regular basis or something like that.
Basically, send us your CV. We'll see it and we'll make sure.
We'll set up an interview with a third party. Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing serious, just
yeah.
Well, this was great. Thanks a lot. And
right on,
we'll hopefully be back next week on either Rasa or Terrence's channel, probably.
Sweet.
But.
Oh.